You got one of these?
Yes. The stuff that's on the back of there particularly has been stuff that's been leveled at us continuously for the past 6 or 7 or 8 months. The same exact stuff for me, a random citizen to come up with those specific points and questions and even what I would say are thinly veiled accusations.
Wait a minute. I know her.
Yeah,
She didn't.
Well, she's my constituent.
I understand.
Well,
You asked my opinion, I give it to you.
That's fine.
Thank you.
I think we need a policy change. That's what I think. And I told her I'd bring it to attention of the board. And so I'm here.
Did it rain last night?
Art artist. And she's got some legitimate rights.
I was at the sheriff's office.
Dang, you're fine, huh? Anyway, she's gonna be having a good time.
Have you seen this?
good, so like, how close is she to graduate?
2 years now.
Yeah, I've seen some of it.
Why does it seem like she's been a
Well,
long time?
She could have graduated after 3, but she picked up a minor.
Thank you.
It's in your
Okay.
Oh, she's gonna have to come out with a
Is that
GIS
okay?
minor,
Oh, okay.
which, that's gonna leave her.
Unfortunately, that's probably what she'll be doing with GIS stuff and all that computer stuff. And not too much outside if she's got that as a minor. People are gonna see that and,
Well, that's good, yeah.
yeah, that's gonna get her hired and.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, is it the 20th or the 21st?
Today?
Yeah.
It's the 19th.
You haven't been retired long enough, because pretty soon you lose track of all that kind of stuff.
I
What
know,
day is it?
I know, that's what Tony would say when I was working here. It's today, one. I am highly aware of what today is. It's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, Tom and Crew, no, we have a quorum.
Does anybody else need a packet?
No,
Since we're printing,
oh, no, they,
does it get hand,
just to the
No, I-
fire committee,
I read the agenda.
and we have
okay. The packet is available for all, anybody. It's an
the
open
the
record.
packet.
The packet is an open record that I can have at the meeting, if I requested it.
It's true.
Thank you.
Let's see, the Tom-Toms are here. Oh, here's one of them.
He's not late yet.
Well, we got a full house.
One.
Huh.
Fun times.
Well, sorry. Morning.
She didn't. But he does.
Okay, here's.
Thank you.
Nothing comes up in the school, but I was like, let's just see how it goes.
Wish we had more of those bigger pens, so that we wouldn't have to.
Good. Real good. Yeah. You're getting better.
I think, Dave.
Yeah.
They're hoping that he.
He's not conscious yet?
Well.
What happened?
Did a stroke.
Oh, yeah, stroke.
Yeah,
Jamie
well,
or the other one, I don't know.
I got really sick while I was down there.
know.
And then I was getting phone calls nonstop.
I don't know.
And it was like, I'm not there, I can't help you, I can't do anything. So, other than that, I passed,
Oh, good, good.
which I see is not on the agenda.
I wasn't worried about that.
It's not on the agenda. It's okay.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning. Good. All right.
Oh, Paul is here. Okay. I wanna say it's who's here for practice.
Lovely fall day.
Isn't it just gorgeous out there?
Just the rain.
About to go to the beach after this.
Yeah, I was just gonna put on some shorts and lay out.
There you go.
Little Tubby was so excited to go home yesterday.
Oh, I imagine.
Well,
I missed that.
I know, you know the kitty in the back, that's with, I think her name is Ladysmith.
Yeah.
She has the same exact body shape and the same, like, you know how Vander was walking around, he's got like that German Shepherd butt, he's always low in the back end. She walks around just like that.
Your robe is
So I
on.
went to the owner and I said, you see this kitten
You
here?
wanna sit on the
I
end
think
just for
this
more
is
room, or I'll sit here?
His daddy.
Or-
The
Oh, it's gonna be
shot is
okay.
just the same, and he's like, oh my God. I said, so, glad we wanna get him neutered. For you.
No, I don't really, but.
Okay, it's 8:30, I'm calling the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is approval of the September 21st minutes.
Motion approved. Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from September 21st. Any further discussion or questions on it? Okay, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Okay, public comment. Limited to 5 minutes per person. Open for public comment. Tony?
I'm here for the animals at large.
He's here for Dum Dum.
Yeah?
That's his name.
Anyway, I got this complaint from my sister, you saw her. And I guess I wanna know is, what is our policy about who decides whether a citation is issued? It can't, we must have a policy as far as, if you pick an animal up that's running loose, and the owner has been contacted and does nothing about it.
I got your answer.
Well,
So,
I'd like to hear it.
Rusk County Humane Officer, issues citations at their discretion, so it's not really, I guess it's not really a policy of the animal shelter, cause the citations
Okay.
are issued, it has nothing to do with the animal shelter. So it's basically like a law enforcement officer, pulling someone over or something like that, and they can decide whether they're gonna give them a ticket for whatever, their windshield or whatever. But anyways, this particular dog did get a citation after, well, it was in the middle of this. So, there was a citation written for dog at large, and the owner also got a citation for not renewing their license. So,
Now what?
renewing the licensing, so the dog was licensed, the dog is rabies vaccinated, but he did get 2 citations. So,
Well, who's the humane?
I'm the humane officer.
I see.
So, so basically, what I normally do is, it depends on the situation. Now, in this case, I've been working with this family since April. They had an unwanted litter of 14 puppies, so they were in financial crisis with all these dogs, and I was trying to take them for them. The shelter doesn't have, obviously, a lot of room. There's like 5 adoption kennels and 3 quarantine kennels. So, eventually I was able to take, we did get the mom, she did get spayed, she went to a home. I did get 2 of the puppies, one of them is currently still at the shelter. This particular call from this lady at the time, the only reason I knew the dog was obviously because I was working with them, trying to get their dogs fixed, and I gave them vouchers and everything. When she called, I knew who the owner was, obviously. I did not share this with her because I didn't think it needed to be public knowledge, but at the time, all of our kennels were full, and we actually had parvo.
Yeah, what?
Parvo, which is a highly contagious, fatal disease to dogs if they're not vaccinated. So the reason I said, if the owner can come get him, that's fine. Now, he doesn't have to come in, the dog doesn't have to come in to get a citation, okay? That has nothing to do with the animal shelter. I was trying to save the dog from getting parvo. And I had one dog in impound at the time, so I only had 1 kennel, and our impound kennels are like this big. And if another dog came in, then I was in the middle of a situation where if I put a dog somebody's dog that I don't know if it's vaccinated or not, in quarantine, which means I would have had to split all the kennels, that dog would have gotten parvo, period. So that's the reason that was done. But he still got a citation for at large, and he still got a citation for dog at large.
Well, I'm not here to, pick on.
You can pick up me all we want, everybody else.
No, I mean,
Go ahead.
on individual, what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say is.
Yep.
How long are these animals kept?
So normally, as far as I know, I've only been at the shelter for a year. At my interview, I was told we are a low-kill shelter. So what that means is, animals are not euthanized for space. So, if we have animals in there that are adoptable, then they stay there until they're adopted, unless they become aggressive. Some animals do get aggressive if they're in the shelter too long, or if they come up with parvo and die, that happens, or if they get a disease that I cannot treat, or whatever treatments I'm doing is not working, they will be put down.
Well, what I wanna know is, what if you have animals that you have in the shelter and they're not adopted,
Mhm.
and you don't have room, and you have another call,
Mhm.
what do? Are we gonna keep these dogs, cats? And
Well, that's the only time that happened is with this dog.
That might well
So,
be.
yeah.
I'm saying that might well be, but the fact is, it can happen again.
It definitely can, yeah.
And I'm saying, how long are we gonna keep these dogs
Mhm.
if they don't get adopted? You can't,
The policy is, you
I
can't
understand
euthanize
what
for
your policy,
space.
that's where I'm here questioning.
And I didn't make the policy, so you would have to ask the animal control board.
Okay?
Cause if I start euthanizing dogs for space, or just because I gotta bring an impound in that may leave in 24 hours, I'm not sure how well that's gonna go over
Well,
with the
whether it does or
community.
not, the fact is, right now, they're in the middle of trying to expand the cat shelter because they don't have enough room for
Well,
stray cats.
now, just wait a minute. When they built that shelter, the cats that are in the back are in a storage room. That has nothing to do with me wanting to bring more animals in. That has to do with where the cats are now, has no ventilation, and they're in a storeroom. When they built it, they didn't build it big enough to accommodate, number one, all the dogs and the cats. So,
Also, but that brings into question
Mhm.
the fact that you're overpopulated with
Yeah.
cats in the shelter.
Yeah.
So we're gonna expand the shelter.
yeah, so that
Okay.
those cats that are in that room actually have a real room to live in.
And so what if you get more cats? Are we gonna keep expanding the shelter?
The
What-
expansion is to house the cats we currently have, it's not to take more. And believe me, I call rescues, I call other organizations so that we don't have this issue. Now, I just euthanized 6 dogs the other day and probably 5 or 6 cats due to disease. I did not keep them, I did not try to save them,
Well,
because we have a lot of cats. I
know.
did not have a choice on that. So, I did not write the policy for the euthanasia. I'm doing what the board, when they hired me, told me to do. So if there is a change in that, and people want the shelter to euthanize animals for space when they've only been there a month or 2 months, then that is a policy that the board needs to come up with, not me.
I'm not blaming you.
No, I know, but I'm
I'm
just
here
trying to
because
explain. So
I'm
I do
here-
everything I can to get him out of there, and I haven't had to come into a situation where it was like, oh God, what am I gonna do with this dog? We've been close, and I agree with you, you can't house animals indefinitely all the time if you don't have enough room. I completely 100% get it, but that is not my decision.
I know it's not
To
your
me.
decision. I'm here because of the policy.
Yes,
I think we need to change the policy.
okay,
And I think, if nothing else, just take it to the full county board.
that's totally completely up to you.
Well, I understand that, but that's why I'm here.
But this is one incident, and this does not happen, I mean, this is like a rare case with this one dog. If there would not have been an owner, I would have had no choice but to take the dog, and it would have sat in the background kennel. It would have went in, and if there was other dogs, I would have had to partition them off, period. I wouldn't have had a choice. And I can do that, and hopefully the impounds, that come in, someone comes and gets them. So the problem we had this year is the national average is an increase in 18% of all dogs, cats in shelters, increased 18% this year, because people are dumping them. Our shelter intake increased 4% overall this year with animals. People are having financial problems. I've had dogs dumped, I've had dogs not reclaimed, and obviously, I will euthanize them if I have to, the same with the cats, okay? But I have people calling me, and we've got feral cat problems in the city of Ladysmith, and I was told, why didn't you call sooner? Because now we've got almost 50 feral cats running around the city of Ladysmith. Nobody called the shelter, nobody's done anything. That is why, one reason I have a bunch of cats, because we've had to trap them. The reason they didn't call was because they were told if they brought them in, number one, they'd have to trap them themselves, bring them in, and the shelter's gonna euthanize them. So now we have a huge feral cat problem. So euthanasia isn't always the thing, because what's gonna happen is, if we change our policy, people are gonna just dump them anyways if they know, or do nothing. They're not gonna call me. They're not gonna call me for help for spay and neuters, they're not gonna call me for anything. So that's the problem with the euthanasia. So, I mean, you can take it to the county board, you can have them change the policy, it's not gonna change anything, except the fact that now the shelter kills everything. So I think the community would have an issue with that. The county board may not, but I think the community would have an issue if we just start killing animals.
The point is, you can't hold them forever. And
We can't, we don't, we don't have that many animals there that have been there that long. We have a handful of cats, and, you know, and it's easy to say just euthanize them, but I don't think anybody in this room has stuck a needle in an animal's arm and euthanized hundreds and hundreds of animals. It's
No.
not that easy
But
to
I've had
keep
my own
going.
pets that I had to put down.
Yes, but that's not the same.
No, it actually is more personal.
It is more personal, however, when you go and you euthanize a perfectly healthy animal for no other reason, then the county board doesn't want to deal with it or add on, or whatever the case is, it's not that easy. And it does get personal for me. It gets personal when you've euthanized thousands of animals, when you've worked in the shelter business since the 90s.
You
It
can-
does get personal.
You
And
can,
it gets
you can
personal
say
for
it's
the
not personal.
volunteers and the
but
employees.
When you gotta euthanize a litter of kittens, 2-month-old kittens or whatever, it's highly personal. And that's what they used to do at the old shelter.
Okay,
If we'd start euthanizing all these animals when they came in, would people probably stop getting their animals fixed because they just had the idea that, hey, we can just dump at the shelter will come get them and euthanize them? Why bother?
Possibly, I don't know what people think, I mean, I know a lot of,
Is there a good chance of it though?
possibly.
Because now if they get them fixed, they aren't going to reproduce, so they most likely wouldn't end up at the shelter.
Right, and that is, I'm doing my best to try to prevent overpopulation by handing out the vouchers, and I probably handed out 70+ vouchers. Ladysmith vet is booked until May of next year, and she has a stack of vouchers that I've handed out. So I'm doing my best.
Vouchers for.
They're for spay neuter, so people stop having accidental litters and of kittens and puppies, cause there's tons of them in Rusk County. They're all over the place.
Well, that's because they're run large.
Right,
And
or
you
they go and they get a male and a female and they wanna sell them. There's running at large and impregnating random animals, but there's also people in the county that are breeding them on purpose and then selling them, and now all of a sudden, 2023 comes around, nobody wants any puppies. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I know people who got 20+ dogs at their house. another person had 16, somebody else had 20, they're all over Rusk County. So euthanasia is not necessarily gonna stop anything,
No,
because they were doing it before,
however,
and we still have a problem.
the policy on animals, so maybe we should have add to that ordinance for something to the effect of not allowing puppy mills.
I don't think they technically,
If they're selling animals, that's a puppy mill.
yes, well, they have a dog breeder's law. So if they're breeding and selling 25 puppies or more, they have to be registered, they have to be licensed, that facility has to be licensed. The problem is, it's the ones under the 25 puppies a year that nobody knows about. And then they're getting dumped, or they're just showing up randomly and nobody knows where they're coming from. That's the problem. So eventually, on my list of things to do here, I am going to at some point try to get an ordinance where people can only have so many.
X number.
Yes, and I can't make it, there's no law making people spay neuter their pets. There's no law that says somebody can't have a litter, except for the fact that they're not licensed, which you can give them citations for, obviously. But if I can't find them,
Well,
it's really hard for me to do. And I also do think that it seems to me like everybody keeps putting all these problems on the animal shelter and on the humane officer. I'm doing 2 full-time jobs. I have 2 separate jobs. Humane officer is completely different than the shelter. I think the counties, the townships, the cities, and the municipalities, they all have to do something about this too. I am not God, and I cannot. So I think it seems like the townships, municipalities, the city, the county, it's all like, Dawn's dealing with that, give that to Dawn, let Dawn deal with all that. Well, there's a huge problem here, so the counties need to step up and start making their people that live in their municipalities accountable for what they're doing. I can't do that by myself, and euthanasia is not gonna
But I
fix it.
think, maybe
So,
the policy and the ordinance are not necessarily enforced, and plus I agree they need to be modified.
yes,
And it's on the part of the townships, the villages, just the city, they all
Yes.
need to modify their policy.
yes, absolutely. So,
That's
I
why
mean,
I'm here.
it's great, so, but what's gonna happen is, every time I hear it, what, just euthanize them, that is not fixing anything. It hasn't. I mean, before I got here, they were euthanizing probably more than I have. I know the other shelter manager had euthanized some, but it's not stopping the
No,
people, it's not
But
stopping
by-
anything.
By, changing the ordinance for the number of animals you're allowed to have. for
That
one
will
thing.
help, absolutely, that will help. And that needs to be countywide, city,
Right,
and every, president of their municipality, chairman, whatever you wanna call them, they need to start enforcing this. Like I said, I'm only one person right now. I gotta write a citation today for somebody else. I'm dealing with a whole nother problem with somebody in Ladysmith, and I'm trying to run an animal shelter.
I understand that.
So I would love help from the municipalities, the people that run them,
Well,
and we can have a meeting, get together and figure out what the hell to do about all these dogs and cats running all over Rusk County.
well, I intend to bring it before the full county board.
And
Okay, I'm going to move on.
can I bring up one point and take my,
Quickly,
yes.
we're stretched that
Another
5
thing-
minutes a little bit.
Another thing that would help greatly is if the shelter was not forced to keep animals for people that are in jail for an indefinite period of time.
Agree with that.
We had a pair of dogs that we had to keep for like 8 months because the guy was in jail and he wouldn't surrender them. His family wouldn't take him. And that's only one instance. That's happened repeatedly. It's happened with cats, it's happened with dogs.
We had another one that was there for like 3 months that the guy didn't wanna
There,
surrender.
there should be, a time limit, given those circumstances, there should be a time limit of like 30 days that they either have to have a family member reclaim, they reclaim, or they're
They have to
forced to
forfeit.
surrender the animal over to the shelter so that we
The
can.
animal shelter is not big enough to accommodate that, and we don't have enough employees to accommodate all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be a helpful thing if the board, if the county board could take that up.
It's an item to bring before, along with the other policy changes, to bring before the county board.
Okay, any other public comment from
Yeah,
anybody
I
else?
guess, in relation to that, it's fine to take certain things to the county board, but I feel the county board in the past was not very willing to spend money and make the animal shelter big enough to start with. The Friends group and other people worked extremely hard to try to get the county to build the new shelter, and it's only because we raised a heck of a lot of money to do it. And I don't think they put a priority on taking care of all the animals. We need another employee, and we need more space. At the time, the shelter got built with the money that was available to build the size that it could. It would have been wonderful if we could have made it bigger, but we couldn't because there were people that didn't give a damn about the animals in the first place. So I would like to see more concern by the county board that this is a problem that is important to deal with and not just killing animals as the best way to do it.
Okay,
Okay,
public comment if she's finished.
yeah, I'm still open for public comment.
Well, I would hope so. So I'm gonna go on the record and say what Dawn said at one of the meetings she was at, that this community and all communities love animals. Dogs are man's best friend. They are going into schools, they are going into hospitals, they're going into nursing homes, they're going into assisted living, they're going into all these places. And why? Because they help people. And Tony, you can say right now, and I'll direct this not to him, but he said at a committee meeting before it started that they needed to euthanize more animals and that policy needed to be changed. So there's a difference between whether or not we want to euthanize more animals so there's room for new ones to come in, or whether or not we're going to change a policy on punishing people. And we all know that a policy change to have fewer puppies or to do something the right way isn't necessarily going to change these people's behavior. But I will tell you what, since that new animal shelter got built, yes, have animals been dumped the same way? Have things happened? Has something in society changed? People don't have enough money? Exactly. However, on Facebook, if you follow, you can tell what this community loves and cares about. It's its animals, and it is the animal shelter. That new animal shelter created a whole new dynamic in this community. And it was through the efforts of getting that shelter from the donations that pushed the board. You look incredulous right now. Like nobody should look incredulous by that. No, not you.
Okay.
This community has a whole different dynamic with that new shelter. They behave differently. They are getting their animals spayed and neutered differently. Animals are getting chipped differently. There is a whole new dynamic. To just think that this animal shelter isn't doing the right thing, the humane officer's not doing the right thing, the police aren't doing the right thing. There's a lot of things that need to be changed, but that's a huge amount of negativity that just happened in 15 minutes of a 5-minute public comment. And this committee might behave differently, but usually when you're from the floor as public comment, you don't get that. I'd love to show up at a committee meeting because you guys know I'm there, and I never get to have a conversation with anyone on the committee or the director of the department.
Any other public comment?
Okay, this will just be short. There's lots of policies in the county generally that I would like to see different, and here at the animal shelter and the townships and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know the protocol, you guys would know it, I don't, but it seems to me that the protocol for policies is you don't start at the top and work your way down. Like if you want a new employee or a new something in your budget, you start at the committee level. And then once the committee approves it, then you work up to whatever committee is next, I don't know, and then they approve it or not. And then, so I'm just wondering if the protocol here is to start at this committee and do the policy and then work up to the next one. To me, that's the protocol that's been for a million years, is that when you want your budget changed, you start here, then you go to finance, and then you go for a person, you know what I mean, you guys. So this is probably the place to start and have it actually on the agenda and some concrete ideas that the committee can talk about what they want to do, and then move it forward, and then that probably would be a better chance of getting the policy changed, knowing that the committees on the hierarchy all approved it all the way up. Just my thought.
This is an additional comment. The shelter is a joint.
He shouldn't get another comment. He's done. You get 5 minutes. and you had more than 5
I'm
minutes.
on the county board, so I can speak to this whole meeting. So
I
No,
don't
you
tell.
can't, Tony.
No, you do
can't.
not. This is a committee meeting and we
And
all
I-
get 5 minutes.
And I am permitted
Yes,
to be
Ashley?
at every committee
Ashley
meeting in
doesn't
this
vote?
county has.
Yeah, you can't.
As a board
prohibit
member.
A board member from speaking during a.
I can speak
He's
to
a
any issue.
citizen.
He's a,
He's a board member.
At this point, he's a citizen.
No, he is always a board member in whatever meeting he is in.
I can speak to any issue I want
So we can see.
in
so
any
you're talking
committee
about work.
meeting.
Well, and
Thank you
at
very
Terry's
much.
discretion.
you're so welcome.
Okay, let's keep this civil. Are there any more public comments from anybody? Cause we've gotta move on. Some of the things that are brought up, are just public comments at this point. There's no discussion of possible action on them because they're not on the agenda. It's not on the agenda, you cannot act on them. So, you've raised some things. If you want some of this to be put on, say, next month's agenda or things like that, contact me or let us know that, you want them on the agenda. There's no further public comment, let's move on. Fracas, any report from Fracas?
Okay, I will tell you that we are in a holding pattern. We are thinking of some new, fundraising ideas, but we are not going to start telling people that we're gonna start raising money until we know we're building an addition, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, because right now, well, what are you gonna use the money for? Oh, well, we'll raise the money and the county's just gonna use it to reduce the levy. We're not gonna get into that game of lying to the public about their money. And so, we're gonna wait to initiate some of these things until we get a go-ahead that, yes, you're gonna do an addition, and yes, you're gonna get another employee, and, we're moving forward. And, the other little thing is, and this is just something for you guys to think about, is a couple months ago, there's a big uproar about not saying a prayer at the county board meeting. And, I was there and commented that I was really glad that you guys prayed before the county board meeting, and Joanne was there and she was glad that you didn't. And, but anyway, the bottom line that came out of that was that if the subject isn't, I was told that if the subject is not on the agenda, you can't even bring it up in a public comment. And so that we were all out of order talking about whether or not you could pray at county board because that wasn't an issue on the agenda. So, I guess what I'm wondering is, which is the case? You can talk about anything at public comment, and obviously this is not for you guys to decide right now, or you can just talk about what's on the agenda. I don't know the answer to that, but I know what happened to me when I said I wanted you guys to pray.
I believe the county policy at the board meetings was that if it's not on the agenda, you can address the board in public comment if an item is on the agenda that pertains to it.
Right, exactly, so that's why, and there was nothing on the agenda that you were
I
gonna
understand that.
discuss that, so I wasn't supposed to talk.
Well, in the discuss annal and citation policy is on today's agenda.
Oh, okay, I'm just,
So those comments are on the agenda. And I guess when we
okay.
get to that point, it's going to
Okay, yeah,
be.
I don't have an
all over
agenda.
No, I don't intend
No.
to start all over. I'll just make one point, or one request.
Go ahead.
I do want this brought up as an agenda item on the next animal control meeting. I want that on the agenda,
What specifically?
addressing the policy and potential changes to the policy.
Which policy?
Which policy, yeah?
Animal control, whatever you wanna call it.
Well,
Citations.
citations are not a policy of the animal shelter. Citations are to the county, that's the
Law.
law, that has nothing to do with the animal shelter.
In the city.
Yeah, I mean, and you can, just to add, I mean, you can ask any, Rusk County officer, Ladysmith police officer, when they issue citations, it is at their discretion, okay? So, like I said, and I'm on 6 citations so far. I have one I have to write today. So, and I realize it's an issue, but if someone needs a citation, they're gonna get one, number one, okay? I'm just gonna give you an example. I had, and just because they come into the shelter impounded doesn't mean I necessarily give them a citation, depending on the circumstances. I had a dog that was grabbed at the end of somebody's driveway. The lady seen her take her dog. She drove the dog to the shelter. Now, am I supposed to issue a citation to someone where someone took her dog out at the end of the driveway? No, I'm not going to. The other one was a little dog that was found, at the end of the road, and the lady was sure it was abandoned, and, picked it up, brought it in. Both these dogs had their collars or tags. That dog actually was left alone at home because its owner was rushed to the emergency room. It went out its little doggy door, fenced in backyard. The dog was in a panic. It dug out. That dog was brought in. That owner is on hospice. I mean, the owner's dying. I'm not gonna issue him a citation for his dog running at large. So I'm not trying to be, my main goal is to help people, okay? I'm trying not to be a jerk. This dog in question did get the citation, and he will get another citation if the dog gets loose again. Obviously, I will do that. But, you know, there are circumstances where situations happen, and owners in jail, someone just nabs the dog, you know, I'm not gonna give a citation at that. But, and I don't even, and the question on here was, where does the citation money go? I don't even know if that even goes to the shelter. I have no clue where that goes. I don't know where the reclaim fees go. I don't know. But the animal shelter itself and the employees that work at the animal shelter have nothing to do with the citations. So basically, me being a humane officer, I work for the county. I could have an office in the county because I'm the county humane officer. It has nothing to do with me being the manager at the animal shelter. It's 2 separate jobs. I have to do both of them. So it is hard sometimes, and I am only one person. I have basically 10 days to issue a citation. There are days, and I'm not making excuses for myself, but I would like people to understand that if a person is doing 2 full-time jobs, I have had the last 2 months sick cats, sick dogs, I got dogs running so I'm trying to issue citations. I send warnings to people if it's one time, hey, your dog just came in, you better make sure that it stays home, it's rabies vaccinated, it's licensed. The vet clinics are backed up. I can't even get a dog in for a rabies vaccination if it gets impounded for like a week. I'm not holding that dog for a week. It's not gonna happen. So if they don't get it, I can give them a ticket because there is an ordinance or there is a ticket on when I do the track system for issuing citations. I can just whip them out citations. I can definitely do that, and I have done that. So, but the point of a humane officer, shelter manager, is to help people and try to figure out how to stop all these puppies and kittens from being born, you know what I mean? And that is my goal, so that the county doesn't have to worry about spending all this money and all these dogs and cats because we're just warehousing. I'm not a warehouser, I will tell you that right now. I don't wanna warehouse animals. It's not humane, it's not fair. So I do everything I can. I mean, we transported 86 puppies to other rescues at the beginning of this year. I've given 20 plus some cats to other rescues. So I am trying, and I get that the county doesn't wanna spend the money and they don't want us warehousing animals, and that's not what I wanna do. So I'm doing my best to issue the citations and make sure people are complying with the laws, but it is a separate thing.
Well, I'm here to address.
And I would like your help, I would love your opinions, I would love everybody's help.
So what do you want?
The starting point,
on the agenda?
obviously, was mentioned that we should start with the Animal Control Board. So, I want the agenda for the next meeting for discussion of policy or changes in policy, whatever.
I think you gotta be a little more specific. For
Do you want it to
issuing
talk for
citations
euthanasia, or?
I mean, we've touched on a number of topics
Right.
now.
One of them is like she said, people that raising dogs and or whatever for sale.
Puppy mills.
Yeah, puppy mill, you wanna call it that.
Yeah.
I mean, you said what, is it 25 limit?
No, I think the kennel license for Rusk County is 12, but that doesn't, they could get 2 kennel licenses.
Yeah. Is there a limit to how many kennel licenses they can
I
have?
have no, I don't know. I mean, I've only been here, I don't know.
All I'm saying is, these things are so ambiguous, they need to be clarified.
Right, but that's also like the citations, when the officers go on a call, about an animal loose or an animal causing noise or whatever, they don't always keep track of how many times they've gone to that residence.
Right, and I am not connected with, I do the citations through tracks. I couldn't tell you how many tickets Rusk County Sheriff's Department issued someone for a dog, and they have no idea what I'm doing. We are not,
And I've suggested to
Connected.
the officers, the city officers at least, that they keep better track of how many times they've gone to 8th Street or 6th Street or whatever. So they know after, let's say, 3 visits there, they give out a ticket. But nobody, city or county, seems to have any way of keeping track of this stuff. They need to, somebody needs to go to the county and to the city and tell the guys, hey, we need this, written down someplace.
Well, I think county officers, there's a way of tracking it, because every time they get called out on a call, it's supposed to.
they
be
can track
stopped.
it, they don't always look, or they don't, and also what happens is sometimes they're on their 4 days on, 4 days off. I've had it where, an officer, because I was gone, it was the weekend, and I know they had a call, and when I called on Monday, cause they do send me a report, I'm like, hey, did anybody issue a ticket, how do I figure this out? That officer didn't do that until they came back, cause they have within 10 days. So sometimes I have to make sure these people already didn't get a ticket, so if they're off, it's, 3 AM whenever they get off, and that's their last night, they don't sometimes issue those tickets until they come back. So it is hard to kind of try to follow what's going on sometimes.
There's a lot of paperwork involved.
Yeah,
I
there is,
understand.
there is. But as far as the people breeding that aren't licensed, I am making a phone call to, this area's inspector, to find out about some of these places that, and I don't know if it's when someone tells me something, that doesn't mean it's true. I've had people tell me things because they're mad at their neighbor, and it's not true. So I am gonna be making phone calls to see if some of these people are actually registered with the, dog sellers program, which is part of the USDA, DACAP. So I am working on that, so I am trying to figure out where some of these animals are coming from, and, 'cause it just seems like there's a lot of, nobody is following the laws, and it can't just be, I know that the humane officer, but it can't just be on me, I'm only one person.
So Tony, can you be more specific about exactly, like you say, we've touched on a number of things here, what you would like the committee to look at
Well, for
specifically?
one thing, I would like to see that, we set a time limit on how long you house an animal, for one thing. I mean, can you say 6 months, a year?
Well, it depends on the circumstances again. I mean, the animal, the humane officer and the animal shelter manager do have a lot of discretion in interpreting and doing these policies. Just like the police do on issuing a ticket or
But
whatever.
at the same time, if you set a limit on time,
So if
there's
you
no
reach,
discretion involved after that.
okay, so you want a time limit on how long an animal can be there before they're dispatched?
Well,
Euthanized.
before you can't just house them indefinitely.
They're not being housed indefinitely, but you go ahead, I mean, I have no issue, if you want it brought up, I don't have an issue with it. But, I will say, if you do put a time limit on it, and that's obviously up to the animal control board, that's not up to me.
Well,
I personally will not be able to do that.
well, that's
So,
fine.
because it's not an easy thing to do, and I know you said, if you go, how did you feel about, euthanizing your personal animal, and I get a personal animal has a little more, but I have personally probably euthanized, I don't know, 2,000 animals probably in my career, if not more. And I have euthanized for space when I worked at a different shelter, and I've euthanized for sickness, aggression, disease, you name it, and, I probably have PTSD from that. I've seen a lot of horrible things, and I've had to euthanize a litter of puppies that were they were 6 weeks old, because they couldn't come into shelter due to disease, and it's not an easy thing to do.
There's a lot of things that aren't
So-
easy.
Right, but having I'm the only person that does that.
Well,
You know what I mean? It's not like we have 6 people, okay, you euthanize that animal today, and you can euthanize that
I'm
one
sure-
tomorrow.
I'm sure
It is
doctors
it is
feel the same way
It's a
about
mental,
patients.
it's a mental health problem. I'm just gonna let you know that right
They
now.
can't do that.
There's a lot of veterinarians and certified veterinary technicians that commit suicide, not saying I'm gonna do that, because of some of the things they see in the animal, healthcare field and having to euthanize pets for no reason. It's one thing, it's hard enough to euthanize a pet that is not adoptable or dying. You still feel bad, okay? It's a whole nother story to euthanize an animal that is completely 100% adoptable because, your 6 months is up.
No.
And it's not easy to get them to other shelters because everybody's full.
Yeah.
And everybody, you do have to euthanize, but I don't, unless it's just a completely impound facility, so maybe you should think about that. Maybe the county, instead of making Rusk County Animal Shelter an actual animal shelter that does adoptions, turn it back into an impound, like Sawyer County, they have an impound. All they do is impound, and when the impound's over 4 days, they're gone or they go somewhere else. If that's what the county wants, then that's what you should ask for, because I will not be able to do that.
Well, I'm saying,
Period.
we could have an impound in conjunction with the shelter, that after a certain period of time, they're out of the shelter and go to the impound.
Well, the impound would take them in, and then they would go to the shelter, then you have 2 facilities you have to run.
Plus you have to open up a whole new shelter, whole new structure.
So
Well, I
that's
think
even more
along
problems.
those lines
But
too.
it can be, just add it, I mean, the county can talk about it, I don't have a problem with it. I just,
Along-
I
I'm
emotionally will
trying,
not be able to do that.
I'm trying to get something specific because we're
Right.
talking in generalities here.
Right,
He
and along
wants a
the
time limit.
I've
lines of
got a
what,
time limit.
what Tony has requested, I think we should also consider what Dick brought up. And as far as people with animals that are incarcerated for
Yeah,
whatever
you can
reason.
bring that up.
That
And-
we should, that needs to be dealt with. I mean,
Mhm.
we should not have to, take care of animals for people indefinitely.
The ones that are incarcerated, they do have to pay when they get them out.
Unless it's hard, if they surrender the animal while they're incarcerated, a lot of times I can't
Erase
get
them.
that money.
Right.
The last one we had that was incarcerated, was able to speak to him, dispatch got me through to him, and he totally surrendered his dog, he felt very bad. The guy before him, I wanna say it was like 3 months, he did not, I talked to his sister, and I'm like, he needs to, make a decision here, someone needs to get the dog. He wouldn't surrender it, but she did pay his whole bill, which was like $300 and some probably, but the fact is, it's taking up kennel space.
Right. You've only
If
got
the
so
dog,
much
you know what I
space.
mean, if the dog, we had to vaccinate, I charged her for everything, obviously, made him get it licensed, and we had to rabies vaccinated before it left and all that stuff. But it does take a little bit of the thing, a little bit of a problem. The other problem you have is, if I have an animal, cruelty situation, where I have to force someone to surrender their animals, and they have a lot, I have nowhere to put them in that case either, so I can't use my whole impound because somebody decides to, do what they're gonna do, then I gotta take all their pets. So it's just kind of one of those, it's like, you want the humane officer to do their job and to stop all these problems, which is completely separate from the Humane Society or from the animal shelter, but then I'm supposed to bring in 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 dogs from somebody's house because they're not taking care of them properly. That's not gonna happen.
Well, you
It's
can,
not gonna happen.
you
There's no
can-
room.
Right.
you can issue citations all you want.
Yes.
If they don't
And-
pay them, what are you gonna put,
Right.
you wanna put them in jail?
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, a lot of times you can, it just doesn't work all the time. I mean, like I said,
No, it
I've
works.
issued 6 citations so far, one I'm doing today.
I
But
think-
sometimes they don't pay them, but,
Okay, we
so
got
time limit,
Well,
time limit, jailed animals,
Yeah.
their owners, that is.
I don't think you can put the citations on, because I don't think the animal, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the humane officer is a county, the shelter doesn't issue citations.
The
So
humane
I don't,
officer.
so I don't think that's not a policy of the Humane Society. So I don't
But
think that.
Tony,
could be-
why don't you think about if you can get specific and let me know?
I'm talking about how long you're gonna house them, well, that is the animal
Then
shelter.
that's, yes, that is, you're absolutely right. So you can put time limit and you
You've
can
got
put
time limit and
impounded for
jail.
jail. And you might as well add impounded for people going to the hospital too, because we've already had that problem. That dog was there forever, and that dog was not well, I thought was completely stressed out. People go to the hospital and the animal gets impounded, and then the animal has nowhere to go,
Yeah,
and so
I
they
understand there's
sit there,
all
so
kinds of problems.
it is.
but they need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just leave them go
Okay.
indefinitely.
Right.
Okay.
All right,
I
anyway,
think-
I'm finished, I want those two items on the agenda.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item on the
Have a good day.
agenda
Yeah, you too.
is select architect for Cat
Take the
Room
day off.
addition. You have in your
I
packet,
wish I could.
we had three, architect things, you have the summary pages of them. We have looked at them, one of them is CS Design, you can see that, here, that came in, with a bid of $3,719. Now, these are just for the design stage. You also have one that, and you can see what they would furnish and everything. You also have one from, Dimension 4 Madison Design. Their proposal is $11,500, but they will provide $5,000 as in-kind donation to Rusk County. So with $6,500 our remaining fee and what they would do. And then the third one, we already had seen before from Plunkett, that was the $15,000 one, that was from the beginning. That was the one of the first ones we got in that we were talking about and then decided that that fee was too much. Again, this is just for architects and that. So, looking at these, and I have the actual bids here if you wanna look at them, but we need to decide whether we wanna go with any of these. I think Ashley and I looked at them and looked at the details. We kind of, do you wanna speak, or should I just say, we went ahead and we thought that the $3,792 one, if you look at what they were going to do and everything, it was like maybe lowballing, that this would be,
They'd end up nickel and diming us.
yeah, they would end up nickel and diming us and wouldn't, you know, it was for 35 hours, but this, they didn't, say that they would meet with people and seem to go over it more in detail. The $15,000 one, we kinda ruled out before, cause we had that one before, but the other one, was that they said they would have a kickoff meeting and discuss in person or virtually. They would do information gathering, schematic design of floor plans, site plans, section, all of that, construction and project cost estimates, meeting to review the schematic design concept with the owners, Rusk County and the city of Ladysmith, because this is a joint city-county thing. I mean, at least the physical part has to be approved. And then they approved electronic thing. And that was the one that was $11,500, but we will provide $5,000 as in-kind donation. We kind of leaned toward that one because it was more comprehensive and we didn't think that they would be, you know, nickel and diming us, and it was much more, I mean, they mentioned even meeting with the owners, Rusk County, City of Ladysmith, and it seemed to be much more comprehensive.
So of that $6,500, this is essentially a joint venture, correct, with the city and the county?
Yeah.
So would we be splitting that with the city,
I believe it's a 60-40 split.
60-40?
Yeah.
Who's
City pays
60? County?
City pays 40.
Huh?
City pays 40%.
Okay.
But this may, because most of this is probably gonna be from the donations and everything, it may, and we don't know if we're getting any city or county funds, probably not. This would come out of, like, we do have a building fund, and with other donations for, cause this is specifically for the cat room addition. And I have the bids here, if you wanna look at them in more detail, but we did roughly the summary pages here so you could look and see, and, if, again, this is not putting it out for bids for construction, this is just for design, the architects. So it's an RFQ, request for qualifications, it's not an RFP. So we do not have to go with the lowest bid, but we should, again, explain why, why we're not. And I think if we don't go with that, think that the one from, Dimension IV number 4, Madison Design Group, and they have done a lot of, they've got team members over in Wausau, and they're also out of Madison. And,
I think the point you made about CNS design is valid, and simply because the attached sheet that you have here, it lists all these different things, and you're right, I believe that they would probably start adding things.
Right, and I believe they said they would only come up once, and my concern is this is a joint venture, so they need to present to both the city council and the county board. So that right there is 2 trips, so I know we'd be above and beyond.
But just read the beginning of it.
You're looking for a motion?
Yes, or any further discussion from you, or do you have questions? Cause like I say, I have the bids right here, if you want.
What was the one you thought that we should go with, the $11,000?
The $11,500 one, again, this is just fee for design, but again, that one.
That's what I would make the in-kind donations?
They would do the in-kind donation, right? So any further discussion? Tom, what do you think?
I think this $6,500 one seems pretty more firm.
It's
The
not-
other one, the real low one, yeah, I think we.
This is the,
Yeah.
Could go.
Yeah.
yeah, they,
This is the one, the 11,000?
no, this is the one that's the $3,000 one.
Oh, that they might nickel and dime us?
Yeah, that we were thinking, when you look at what is included in the document, and it seems, you know, the $15,000 one seems excessive for a 20 by 40 foot addition. I mean, it's a room.
Yeah.
And, and design, further development, design will be completed, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you wanna look at the design thing and everything, but they, construction documents, not included. So, what's your pleasure? I mean,
I like the 11.5 and 7.
even if it turned out to be 11.5, it's much more comprehensive. And, you know, we're just a little bit concerned that it might be nickel and dime. The other one isn't very specific, that's this one. This one, I think, was the one that we previously looked at. This is the one that we looked at, the beginning one, that they had pictures of our animals on it. This was the $15,000 one.
Superior or somewhere up there?
Where's Milwaukee? I think.
Milwaukee, yep. And that was the one that was high. I mean, we looked at that before, and that was the only one, and then we had another one, that we reached out to, and that was like $6,500. But when we put the bids out, or the requests out again, he declined to do it because he said, you know, we're asking them, you know, to do a flash drive, so we have it electronically. We also ask that they submit, you know, their insurance and a workers' comp and all that sort of thing. He said, I'm so busy that he said, I just don't want to do it. He said, I just can't do that. So he did submit again. I think he would have been very good. He had done us a favor. This is, this is the Dimension one. this is one, it's basically blah, 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 they have all their standard stuff and their certifications and licenses and everything. And then, again, there's nothing more in this one than what is on your sheet here, because this is a copy of that sheet. But this is what they've done. It says our team is very interested, we've enjoyed working with numerous counties, towns, understanding, executing architectural services for animal housing in both new builds and additions. They've teamed up with Apex Engineering for mechanical scope of service. Our team will prepare a schematic design done to scale and code compliant that consists of floor plans, site plans, building elevations, the selected building sections to indicate key interior heights, and other needed drawings to convey the design intent. Included with the schematic design documents will be the construction and projection cost estimate and the design and construction schedule. We will assess both on-site and via drawings to determine the scope, cost, and other considerations. We will make recommendations on how to best utilize the space. Maybe we'll come up with a little bit different layout or something, and options for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. We will include analysis reflecting all of these. Our firm will provide a final schematic design in electronic form to the owners, Rusk County and City of Ladysmith. And they've done Angels Wisp Pet Adoption Center, Dane County Humane Society, and the Wausau Animal Hospital. So this is the one I think that.
This is the one that you guys wanted to go with, or?
Yeah, well, that we're suggesting to consider, you know, because it seems more comprehensive than the bare bones one, which, you know, we're a little concerned about maybe being nickel and dimed later on. And it might take, you know, a couple trips up here and to do it. But what is your questions, or what do you want to do? I think we should make a decision on this so they can start. I mean, obviously it's not gonna get built this year, but to get them going on it, so.
I like the 11.5 with Madison Place.
Any further discussion or comment?
I agree with Nancy, I think this would be the right
Are we at the
decision
point
for
where we
us.
should make a motion on this and get things rolling?
Yeah, I guess to accept, this thing, and then, it will get forwarded to the Joint Control Committee, because the city and county both have to approve it. But I mean, it's gotta come from us first, and then go on. So I guess, I would entertain a motion, whichever one of these three you would like, and again, that would be forwarded to, the Joint Control Committee.
I'll make a motion to accept the Dimension 4 Madison Design Group
I'll second that.
and
I'm sorry.
send it on to the
Joint Control
appropriate
Committee.
committee.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. So we will forward that on to the Joint Control Committee. Okay, did you bring the revised
Yes.
full-time job description? This is for taking a part-time person and making it into a full-time person.
We don't have to advertise that either, correct? 'Cause that's what
Well,
we-
at this thing, all we're doing is, we're not approving anybody, we're just doing, the job description at this point.
It was too wordy, I'm too wordy.
It was- Remember, we had this before at our last meeting, and it was approved, but,
I was not at that.
when it went to, personnel,
Did I
they,
give this out to anyone else, or just?
no,
Okay.
they had it, they turned it down, personnel turned it down because it was too wordy, like she said. So this is the revised position, full-time for a shelter manager,
I think she
shelter
put
assistant.
But.
Yeah,
It's like-
assistant. So glance over that, And it's basically the same one that we approved last month, except it's minus a few pages.
We added Wisconsin driver's license.
Yeah, yeah, we added Wisconsin.
There is, should have ballot, do a ballot on there, that's a
Oh, I
ballot.
didn't-
No, we didn't.
That'd be valid.
Oh, well, come on, haven't you read the court stuff lately?
And then,
Oh, the other thing I did do, this, physical demands was changed a little bit. So I put lift up to 40 pounds and I put 50 pounds with a team member, cause, that policy throughout like veterinary medicine and veterinary clinics has been changed, cause 50 pounds is a lot. And if you know most certified vet techs, they have no back after working in veterinary medicine for 10 plus years.
Understandable, yeah.
They have bad backs.
Just
So
a
I-
question, I'm sorry, on the driver's license, didn't we speak about at the last meeting of, like you said, a valid driver's license plus proof of insurance? Was that?
but.
They shouldn't be
that-
using their own car for animal control,
That-
or
But
it-
shouldn't,
that-
but shouldn't they
that-
be insured regardless?
probably.
That was taken out, I believe, because if they have a driver's license, part of having a driver's license, you're supposed to have insurance. And simply stating have insurance.
But a
isn't
lot of
gonna
people
make
have
it.
licenses and do not have
Right.
insurance.
Right.
A lot of people drive without licenses and no insurance.
Exactly.
It's,
Right.
Yeah,
it's Rusk
so-
County.
So, the main thing was that they do have a driver's license, and you put valid, but then you're starting to, then, you're adding a lot more things, so I think just having a driver's license. And if they're driving the county truck, then that's insured
They should be
through
driving that.
there, and that, so, I don't think, we can look, it's gonna go back to personnel.
Okay.
And for that, this was just, like I say, we had passed it last month, but it was too long, personnel turned up. And again, this is just for a full-time shelter assistant, animal shelter
And
assistant.
that's how many hours?
It'd be 38.75.
Yeah, whatever the normal
Okay.
full-time, I think it's 38.75.
See, and I think this is another thing that needs to go before the board as well, only because, from what I have been hearing and understood, that, there is opposition, towards this position, like from finance, et cetera, because they're saying, no, we can't afford it, blah, blah, blah.
Well, but this,
And that we need the backing of the board.
but this is just job description.
Right,
At
but
this
I'm
point.
saying, in order for this to happen, I mean, it's gotta get through and passed.
Well, it's,
And we need to have people understand that Dawn has too many responsibilities essentially to be effective in what she's supposed to be doing.
but I think right now, it's approving the job description. I think you
I'm
have
just
to
looking
do-
down the road.
Yeah, well, this is just approving the
You said
job
the board,
description.
the county board.
Yeah.
Oh,
This goes, you have to do a JE. The,
you gotta go to the city too,
the.
no? Does they pay?
I don't even know what J.
Would that go to the city too, because the city pays
Oh,
the
joint
shelter?
animal.
No, that's
That'd go to wages.
the job description thing.
Duties?
This is what the duties are, but
50%.
there's another thing,
Goes
that's a
full
10-page
operational.
thing that's gotta be filled out. A questionnaire thing too, that would go along with it. But this is just to approve the job description, so it can go on to personnel to have them approve the position, the
So-
job description.
Going back to 60-40, so is the city paying 40% of the salaries of employees?
Yes.
So would that have to go to
Okay.
the city too then?
So that should,
Well, not right now.
No, but what-
oh, no,
It's
but
gotta
I'm
go to
saying,
personnel,
again-
Tom and I are
let's
thinking
not
like
jumping
just scary.
ahead, we
Yeah.
just wanna move one step at a time. We wanna
Right.
get this to personnel, and personnel approves the job description. Then it's going to have to go through other committees,
right.
yeah.
But I mean, we need to get the board, the county board on board with this, so that. you know,
It will eventually end up at county board,
Yeah,
but right now, it is just to approve this job description, to get it to personnel, so it gets on their agenda, so that they approve it, and then we move on from there. So, if you look at this
So
quickly.
sometime in the middle of next year, it'll be.
Yeah.
That is the personnel. Just Still down, Governor.
So any questions or discussion on it?
Does it look okay? Is it too wordy?
It's basically the same thing that we approved last month, but cut a page, you condensed it.
that was a smaller print.
This is the Cliff Notes version.
Do you have any extra copies of that?
Yeah.
I don't wanna do anything that's unauthorized. No, I didn't mean to switch out.
Okay.
It's
just-
just,
it's
it's
public.
to the public.
Okay,
Yes,
the
yes,
motion
yes.
has been made to accept the job description. Nancy, to
Nancy.
Send it on to personnel.
send to personnel.
Second.
The Tom-Toms.
Tom jointly, pick one. Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the revised full-time job position, and send it back to personnel. Any further discussion?
Make sure I get an email, cause the last one, cause I wasn't here that meeting, I didn't even know when that personnel meeting was. I luckily ran into Ashley in the hallway. She's like, you're supposed to be the meeting at 3, I'm like, what
That's-
meeting?
Yeah, thanks for telling me now.
So, yeah, just so I get some kind of heads
Okay,
up.
no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion carried.
Otherwise I wouldn't be there.
Okay, phone stipend and reimbursement for on-call staff. I guess this issue has come up,
Well, this issue, well, it was on my list to do, I just didn't get that far, but, yes.
this is, right now, they're using their personal phones, you correct me on this, to handle on-call, things and everything. This, and if they have that, they call, people find out their numbers and everything, and that's their personal cell phones. And one of the things for a lot of the others, for on-call, they have a county phone, and, so it's a county, issued cell phone, and that is a cell phone number, because if somebody gets their personal cell phone number, they can spam them or keep calling them and harass them at all times of day and night, and that's one of the reasons why they have, cell phones for on-call people.
I would just like to add something. So, they did have phones
Right.
when I got there, but most of them were distributed and, a couple of them didn't have the plug-in cord, they were flip phones. Old, like, I don't know what year, but they were flip phones, and when I had asked everybody, nobody was, I think they were older than that.
Oh.
Were they older than, they looked pretty
Every few
prehistoric.
years, we would get new flip phones.
But, so I asked everybody, cause we were paying $67 a month and nobody was using them, or it was 40 or, I don't know what.
Okay.
So I figured out where all the phones were and I got them all given back to me, cause everybody that was on call said that they didn't get good reception most of the time, and there was problems with people not answering those phones. And a lot of times too, you want a phone, if you're doing animal control and there's a situation, like, say Nicole went out somewhere and she's like, Dawn, I got a problem up here, though, you can't take picture, like, nice, like, if she wanted to take a picture to send me and say, hey, you need to come out here, you know, something like that, they weren't the greatest phones. So I gave them all back to IT, and I just told them and then we would just kinda deal with that later, you know, if we needed to do something about that, but they have been using their own phones. And I know that this is like chapter 12 of the employee handbook. It does say, county issued electronic devices here, and then, it does talk about subsidizing personal electronic devices and then getting some kind of reimbursement. But they would have to, yeah, and that, cause I know when I got hired, before I got my phone, I was told that if I had to use my personal phone to give them my bill or something, and I wanna say it's like, this may change, I don't know how old this is, but I wanna say it was like a base rate of $30 a month, if they wanted to use their own phone. But the other thing is with using your own phone also, now if you do have to take pictures of something, that is at someone's house, because you don't know if it's issued, you gotta send it to me, that picture of that animal's property, or that owner's property is now on somebody's personal phone, which I don't think is okay, cause like, as a humane officer, if I go somewhere and I have to take pictures, I don't use my personal phone, cause it's I don't want, cause regardless of whatever those people are doing, even if it is an animal cruelty or whatever, they still have rights. and they can still say, you took those pictures on your personal phone, now you could send that to whomever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Invasion of
and
privacy type
most
thing.
animal control people aren't probably gonna have to deal with that, but like I said, if they have to go pick up an animal and they end up in a situation that they're like, this is not good, cause it has happened to me personally, and they need to send me a photo or something like that, they probably should not be using their own phones for that, because if that owner finds out, that could be, you know, an issue, why are you taking pictures with your person, you know what I mean, I don't know what the ramifications are, but.
Well, they could possibly be surrendering their phone for scrutiny.
Yes, if it ends up being an animal cruelty issue, and the person in question, is taking us to court, or we're taking them to court, or there's problems, absolutely, they could have their personal phone probably, I don't know, subpoenaed or whatever. I don't know, but still, it does issue,
It just makes good business sense.
Yeah, so I don't know how we go about it, I don't know if I think we had, how many phone, like, did we have 4? I think everybody on call had their own little flip phone, didn't they? I think there was like 4 of them. So I don't know how we go about doing it, I mean, obviously, it's another expense for the animal shelter.
And the question will be raised, how are you gonna pay for it, you know, that question will be coming up.
But-
You said how many?
Well, I mean, how does the
Is it
police
just-
department pay for their, for all
Probably,
their
well,
communication
cause I
needs?
have,
They can share.
I think, one of my animal control people, cause she actually works for the county,
That's
she
all.
may have a county phone already, which would be okay for her to use, I didn't get to talk to her yet about, but I'm assuming she would use her county phone when she's doing animal control pickup for me. And then usually I have 4, I mean, I only have 3 animal control employees right now, but normally it would be 4, and usually covers the month. Now I don't know if like they can grab a phone, now some people work all day, and if you work and I'm not there, they can't get into the shelter to get a phone, unless you put them in one of the impound areas, and I don't really, there's not a lot of room in the impound areas, and I'm not even sure that there's plugins in either one of those rooms. Cause the employees, unless they work in the shelter, they can't get into the shelter, so they can't go in there and grab a phone.
Just to drop off.
Just to drop off or grab, they can't get in there, they can only go in the 2 impound rooms. And I don't know, there's a lot of stuff in both those rooms already, cause they're very small, and if something happens, an animal gets out or loose, you're looking at those phones getting hit off whatever they're sitting on, or wherever they are, getting busted. And I know some of them work, so they're not gonna be able to, like, stop by, I mean, I'm usually there at 3:30, 4 o'clock most times, but there might be a day that I'm not there.
So is this request for 4 county phones, or just, I mean, I'm assuming that's what you want?
I would say, 4 county phones, but they have to be a phone that is gonna get service in the middle of nowhere, because some of these calls, I've had people have to go to the middle of the woods to get a dog that was running amok, or 40 miles out, you know, like 40 minutes from in town, in the middle of nowhere, so they have to work.
Good
And
quality.
if everybody else in the county is getting an iPhone, or whatever kind of phone they want, why is the animal shelter getting little cheap flip phones for their on-call people? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. They should be getting the same thing as every other county employee that is on call. There should be no distinction whether it's shelter, or ambulance, or highway, or whoever. That's why I don't understand, they should just be get what they're supposed to get if they're on call, as far as I'm concerned.
Makes sense.
Well, okay.
4 reliable, nice phones, they should definitely have.
Maybe we need to look into this a little bit more and bring it up next meeting and find out what the costs are and what type of phones they are.
Why don't we forward this to IT and they can give us a price on this?
Well, we can ask them and bring it up, like,
Yeah.
say, next month. We
Yeah.
just need more information, I think, at this point.
Put it on the agenda
Yeah,
for next meeting.
so, get more.
So if the animal control people now that don't have the phones, want to be reimbursed for what they're using, that's already a policy in Rusk County, they can just give IT a copy of their phone bill and get that $30 reimbursement?
Well, whatever it is, I'm not.
It's
aware
on
of
here. It's
the
$30.
Exactly thing, but, yeah, if that's what the current is being
If
done
personal
for-
calls must be made or received on a county device, what is it?
That's.
That's wrong, hold on, where is mine? I'm reading the wrong one. Let's see. employee will solely be responsible for any late activation charges, that's if they're using their own phone. Employee will only be reimbursed a base rate of $3 per month for an electronic communication device with remote internet access used for approved county businesses, after the monthly bill has been paid. So a copy of the statement summary must be attached to a payroll
Well,
sheet.
it'd be whatever they're doing now.
Right, that's what this is saying, so
So
is
it is-
that what I
it's
have them
30.
do? It says a $30 rate per month.
So nothing will change until,
Well, nobody has been reimbursed for their phones at all, because I don't think anybody was aware of it. Unless they got, I mean, they were, obviously they were hired before I got there. If they didn't get this employee handbook or they weren't told, I was told because I was a full-time employee. So I think because they're animal control employees or they're part-time employees, nobody tells them any of this stuff, so because, I don't know, they're not as important, maybe, I feel. I mean, I'm not saying that, but, they should be able to take that bill without any permission or okay, cause it's already in here, right? So if I call, if I let Nicole or Stephanie or whomever know, say, hey, take your bill to or give me your bill, it goes on their payroll. I shouldn't have to get any okays, right? That
Well,
should
it's
be,
written, it
it's
sounds
written
like,
in
yeah.
here.
If it's-
So that should be at least until we figure out if we can get some better quality phones.
or maybe nothing changes until, if they haven't been doing it. You know, I don't know how much they use their phones for,
Well, they use their phones every time they're on call, they have their phone on.
well, they have their phone,
Right.
yeah.
It
That's-
doesn't, I don't think it is, a payment per how many times you use your phone, it's just.
No,
Using the phone in
If you're
general.
using your phone in general for county business, you get that benefit, I don't think it matters how many calls you get.
well, let's move this, we'll put it on next month's agenda again and find out the phone types and prices and see what's going on. Okay, next item, discuss animal and citation policies. I think
I
we've
feel like
already been
I feel like we
through
beat that to
that.
dead horse. But I would like to say the citations are not a policy in the animal shelter.
So that's been something people question me about too.
It's,
And in the past, it seemed like the shelter was writing up citations.
I was told they never did, but I
Well,
don't know.
no. What happens is, once a year, we get a list of, the shelter gets a list of people who have not renewed their licenses
Right.
from the county clerk.
It's not the
So-
shelter, it's the humane officer.
So,
It's the
and what
list.
happens is then they give that to the humane officer, and the humane officer is responsible to write those people citations and send them out in the mail, which is where people, I think, equate
Okay.
the shelter manager being the one that issues citations, when in fact, it's the humane officer.
Some
And
people it's the
I
same
don't
thing.
even know why it's
Humane
with the
officer,
humane
shelters.
officer, I think it should be with the clerk's office, but, I mean, that's where I think that comes in from, is that they equate the shelter with citations.
And that's only licensing.
Right.
That has
Maybe,
nothing to do
could
with.
you talk with the police and the sheriff's department about keeping better record of, 'cause I know sometimes I've heard the police department will,
I can't get into their records though.
no, but they can maybe report to you at the end of the week or something.
They send me,
Is
what,
this-
anything they have on animal control calls or, I guess they don't send me the citation, but,
You get CAD.
yeah, I get all the reports of what they have.
Cause I've heard sometimes the guys don't even write stuff down, don't even record it.
I have no idea what they do.
Yeah.
I am having a hard time keeping track of what I'm doing. So, I usually, if I have a question or a problem, I call them, I just go over there and I say, hey, you guys, did you get a report on that, so that I do communicate with them a lot.
Right, I
To make
understand
sure
that.
that I'm not.
But maybe
getting-
something in the future could be
Yeah.
worked up, discussed with both departments.
And I thought about that too, so.
Okay,
Make it our lives easier.
Right.
moving on, okay, on-call schedule and pay. You had something on that?
Oh, I'm not worried about this, I don't, my schedule's on there. Okay,
Oh.
this is the other, okay, so I have another. So, the on-call animal control people, they do normally a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 1 or 2 days a week, depending on how many of them I have. Right now I have several spots where there is nobody on call, just because I don't have anybody. And for me to drive an hour, if it's an emergency, I will obviously, but most people aren't gonna wait around for an hour. And if they have to, for me, then there's gonna be more complaints that I'm not getting there quick enough. And some of those, the police, they know that I'm a little short on animal control, they've been meeting people at the shelter, you know, they don't have an issue with that, as far as I know.
But, so the on-call people for the animal shelter aren't even listed in the employee handbook. So the on-call, social workers are, I wanna say on-call highway department is, but there's no mention of on-call workers in here that are animal control. So, I didn't read this whole thing, I do know from what I read, that these guys are on, they're paid, and it looks like paid 5 hours of straight time or compensatory time for being on call, for their on-call duties. So our people are not paid any kind of 5 hour, they're not paid a flat fee. So if they're on call, say Saturday, on call starts at 8 AM, they're on call till midnight. They can barely take a shower, go to the grocery store, they have to stay there. If they get a call 40 miles away, wherever, I don't know what's the furthest township in Rusk County, it's like 40 minutes or something. They get $15 for 80 minutes of their time. So I guess my question is, most people that are on call get paid some kind of flat fee
Just for that day.
for that day, whether they go on call, just for being on call. So for being on call, they get some sort of pay. What that looks like for animal control people, I don't know. But it's, like I said, it's not even mentioned in employee benefits. I mean, they are employees of the county, they're on-call employees. They should be in here, I would think,
Only $10-15 has been that way for
since the 80s, I think.
17, 18 years
Yeah.
at least.
So when they go out, they'll get $10 or $15 depending where they go. But that's it, I mean, they are using their whole entire day waiting for a phone call. So I guess if, the highway department, the social workers, or even maintenance, if they have some sort of flat fee or pay scale for however many hours, obviously theirs is a little bit different, they're gonna come in, they're getting paid, but our people gotta sit home and wait, and then go get something. And sometimes they could be gone for hours, sometimes it could be 6 or 7 dogs, and they're getting $10 to wrangle. At one time, poor Nicole, she had like 7 dogs she had to go get. So, I mean, that's a lot of, and it's, it can be dangerous too, but I guess, I'm not really I'm questioning it, and I'm just wondering, like, what we need to do to, I guess, make our shelter workers be as, I don't know if I wanna use the word important, as everybody else that's on.
Well, if they're only been getting the $10 or $15 per call since the 80s. I don't know why that hasn't gone up either.
I don't think anybody, well, that I know of, I don't know if anyone's brought it up before. I just know when I was an animal control officer, humane officer, the employees that I had that did animal control, they got, and this was a long time ago, but they got a fee for being on call, and then if they went, they got that, whatever that fee was, as well.
Well, if the other workers are getting it.
So I'm not sure who to ask, like, how to
The shelter wouldn't
inquire about that, cause you know what I mean, cause it is a lot of work, you're wrestling animals, and sometimes you get in hairy situations, you got aggressive animals, you're dealing with people yelling at ya. I just feel like just getting a $10 fee or getting a $15 fee, I guess is inadequate, and it's old. I mean, prices have gone up, everything's gone up, that they should be compensated, I guess, fairly and accordingly.
Well, when they go
That
on
makes
call,
sense.
and it's an uncaged animal or contained animal, they've gotta be chasing this thing for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
So, I'm not sure who to bring that up to, or how to fix that, or.
Well, we can look into, do you have an idea of what you would like?
No, well, I
then?
guess, I'm wondering what, the social service workers and maintenance and highway department, I think we need to look at what
What they're getting.
what they're getting, like, how are they doing that? It says a 5 hour pay of straight time or compensatory time, I guess I don't know.
Again, that's different because they're salary or hourly, where these are just per call.
Right, but that price hasn't gone up in.
Right, but they're still on call, so there
Right.
has to be some way, cause again, like I said, when you're on call, you can't go to the grocery store, you barely take a shower, I mean,
Well,
you have to
Well,
be
you
able to
can go to
answer.
the grocery store and answer your phone.
Well, you can, but.
You just hope you don't have major diarrhea and you're sitting on the toilet constantly all day.
Do you have that Marcy thing?
So I don't know, but I think we
Okay.
need to look into it and figure out how to,
Change it, get it up to date.
or at least compensate them better, it needs to be up to date, I don't know.
Okay, let's put that on for next time then too.
Question?
You know, this is really, shouldn't necessarily be up to this group, because if the on-call people are in the union, I would say check with the union, and the union will.
No union.
We have no
There's
shelter.
No union. No union.
There's no union?
No
No.
union.
Oh, there used to be a union.
Yep.
Oh, well,
For
Act 10.
shelter workers or
for
on
county
call?
employees.
Act 10.
Oh, when was that? Last.
Oh,
when
yeah,
I
but
worked.
that
Act
was
10.
long gone,
Oh, so there's no union?
not really, no.
Police.
Okay.
EMS.
Oh, well, oh,
That's been
That's
gone for
interesting.
10 years, I guess, or
oh
something.
yeah, I've been
13.
retired for 12.
Okay.
Okay, so, never mind.
So
Okay,
whoever I gotta
let's-
talk to, or
let's-
whatever I gotta
let's
do.
let's put this on it, and again, they're going to say, how are you gonna pay for it? You know that question's gonna come up.
I think John.
You have a
John's got
question?
Okay,
Yes, I just wanted to comment that this complaint that Mr. Hauser came in with, sort of, was one of his people that complained that if we're gonna have complaints about, you know, dogs loose, needing citations, people going out, then the county board needs to be willing to pay more
To get people to do
to
it.
have the people going out and doing the job they want done.
I agree. Well, one of the people you mentioned.
Well,
that brought it-
he, you know, he could've called me, easily I could've, you know what I mean, the owner did get citations, so it's kinda.
Well, one of the dogs that got brought into, because I got calls about it, there was out on Highway 8, May West Road, or whatever the road by the old airport, I believe it is. That dog's been out on the highway many times.
Yes, I have that guy, if his dog gets loose one more time, comes into the shelter, he's getting probably 3 citations.
Well,
So,
hopefully he'll learn.
well, it's the dog has severe separation anxiety,
Okay, it's definitely
so
dangerous.
that is the problem, so I'm trying not to be like a huge,
Right.
the dog is not aggressive, doesn't destroy anything, but he will be getting citations. He's got one more time,
Right, it takes time for the dog to get over
yes.
stuff he's great dangerous, like
Okay.
fences with fence.
back on this, let's look into this more and see, and put that on for next
Okay.
time. Again, Tom, we were talking about the on-call schedule.
Okay.
Okay, and that, let's move on to increase animal adoption fees.
Boy. I know,
You need a dreaming binder, Don, you need a dreaming binder, I think.
I know. Hey, this is my to-do list. Now I gotta, what did I do with them? Okay, they're right here. Okay, so I just, because I thought, so since we're like, everyone's like, you're not making enough money, we can't afford this. The only thing that hasn't been done, as far as I know, in like a really long time, is increased adoption fees. So our adoption fees are pretty low. I did go to 9 different shelters on their websites, to look for their adoption fees to kind of see.
In the
Northern
county.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I didn't go below that because the cities tend to be a little more expensive, and so I just kept it in. I think the lowest I went was probably Taylor County, which is just below us, basically. So I'll tell you their fees, basically, so in these 9 shelters, their cat fees were anywhere from 80, one was 80 to 125. And some of these guys will do them on age. 80 to 100, 100 to 125, one was 50 to 125, one was straight 65, one was 75 to 100, 75 to 100, and then 100, and then one was 80. And
What
that
are
is-
ours?
Ours are 60.
For
Okay,
cats,
for
or
cats,
cats.
60. The dog fees, so again, their ranges, some of these shelters will, divide the animals up from puppy, senior. I don't think we need to do that. A lot of times if we have an animal that's old, someone sponsors them or, anyways. So, the dogs were 185 to 325.
Another shelter was 185 to 300, 180 to 300, one shelter was a straight 400, 175 to 250, 200 to 300, 200 to 250, 200 to 400, and 200 to 250. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna be charging
400?
300 or 400. I don't agree with that. I think that's too much money, but $100 is what we charge for dogs now, and we charge 60 for cats. So I'd like to at least increase that. I mean, maybe, I don't think adding $20 to the cat adoption fee is too much. Most of those fees don't even cover spay neuter.
Right.
So, which I'm not trying to, I don't wanna sell a dog for $300. I don't think that's, that's a little too much. The other shelters are doing it, people are paying for them. But, I mean, at least $80 for a cat would be nice. And, $125 to $150 for a dog would at least put us, well, it still puts us pretty low for dogs. But
What was the dog now?
dogs are 100.
100.
Yeah.
And cats are 60.
And cats are 60, and they're fully, age appropriate vaccines, they're fixed. The other thing too is, when I put the fees in for adoptions, in my little summary for the shelter monies, we're still taking out that $25 deposit. It goes in the column, I don't know where that money goes, but I have to put that $25 deposit in a column, and then it's 71 something for the actual fee, and then there's $3 or some cents for taxes or something like that, when you split those fees up. I don't need to take all that $25 anymore. And I said something, I did say something to finance before, and I don't know what her reason, I don't know what she said the reason was for that, cause we are actually, there's no deposits being taken, everyone's fixed.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand, I don't know where that money's
That's a
going.
that's a state mandated, the reason that's in there is initially we didn't do spays and neuters on the animals were adopted as is, and the state mandates that with each animal that you adopt out, if it's not spayed or neutered, you need to charge a $25
I
deposit.
don't think that's a state mandate, that's a county,
Well,
city
I
mandate,
was
I
told
believe.
it's a state mandate.
I've never heard of that. But
So it's, anyway, we were told it's a state mandated, and then what happened was the people would send in a slip when they got the animal spayed or neutered.
Get the money back.
The county would refund it $25. But now we don't adopt any animals out that aren't spayed or neutered with the exception of puppies. If we have puppies that are
No, our
2 months
puppies all
old.
get fixed now.
But in the case we would get puppies again or whatever, if they're under an age where they can be neutered or spayed or neutered, we would still adopt them out, and in that case, you probably have to do that. But we've attempted to, over the years, they've several times attempted to raise the adoption fees, and the board has always come back, or at least the boards that were in place at that time had always come back and said that because of the county that we're in and the economic issues, with being in a quarter part of the state, that they were reluctant to raise fees simply because it would put a dent in the adoptions. But
Do you think that's true?
that happened in the past.
It's a one-time fee.
No, I was,
Point out to the people.
there's people that come in and adopt and they are amazed at how low our fees are.
I've heard some people, comment and wonder why we don't have more of a fee.
So.
I don't think that has anything to
Suggesting
do.
125 to 150?
Well, depending, I mean, 125, I wouldn't go over 150, but at least a $25, $50 increase for dogs, I think is 100% fair.
Depending on
I would just do a straight
No,
fee.
straight,
Just
flat,
straight.
Just straight
flat.
No matter what the age,
Flat.
no matter what the breed.
Yeah. I wouldn't do all this, that's too
Do
complicated.
you know when the fees were last raised?
I'll tell you.
So what are you, let's do cats first, what were you suggesting?
They're the same fees that have been in place since I started at the shelter in 2007. They're exactly the same fees, 60 and 100.
So you wanna raise
So
cats
long.
to 80 or what?
At least 80, and the dogs to at least
Or do you wanna do
125.
a big 100 and 150? I mean, 100 for cat, 150 for dogs, or just move it up?
Maybe a little bit,
Little by little.
yeah, little by little, maybe in the first 6 months or something.
Well, you don't wanna change it in 6
What was-
months.
what's
Well,
the-
you know, don't.
Do you want cats, you were suggesting 80?
I suggest 80. But then we need to be allowed to at least increase our, I don't wanna like do a whole, I mean, it'd be nice if, it was a little bit higher, but if we're gonna get pushback, I don't know why we would get pushback, because isn't that an income? And I don't think anybody would really
Not adopt.
not
because the fee
adopt
went up.
If they
because
want
the
it bad
fee
enough.
went up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Really want
And
it.
like, most of the shelters are between $75 and $80 for their cats. The majority of them are 70, so I don't wanna go too far, but I think 80 would be good for cats, and we can always, you know, I think there needs to be an increase, like yearly, for
That's what I
something
was
like,
gonna say too, in a year we could
Well,
look
yeah.
at this again.
and I don't understand why they wouldn't.
Not 6 months.
No.
You know what I
And
mean,
if it's been 20, you've been there, what, 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and everything is going up except everything that comes into that, all of our adoption fees, we have changed absolutely nothing.
Yeah, who knows, this
So
2007,
just for paperwork's sake, I would say $80 for cats and $150 for dogs.
Yeah, and I would say caution not to go 100 on cats, just simply because we have so many of them.
We'd end up not
And the
getting
higher
rid
you
of
raise
them.
it, the less we're, the less of them that are
I
gonna
think,
go
I think
for the-
$20 is
Tom, what do you
okay.
think?
I think 80
Yeah,
bucks for cats and 150.
50 for
Hundred
That's a
fifty for
reasonable-
dogs.
Corey.
80 and 125.
I go 150 on dogs, seriously.
Do you know how much it costs to spay a dog right now?
How much?
A lot.
$250.
That's what it's up to.
That is our discount.
Well, then make it 150.
Jeez
I mean,
Louise.
To lose it.
And that's our discount. It's a
Yeah.
lot more than that if somebody, that's why people are having issues, 'cause
Well, I can
the
understand.
one
Yeah.
vet charges almost, I wanna say $400, $500 to spay a dog. That's
I
why we
mean, if
got-
you go to like, say for example, Coco's Heart, which is based out of the cities, but they have a huge network.
Yeah, yeah.
$750
Yeah.
for a dog.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other places that cause I'm always looking at that, you know, a lot of them are $425 for a
Yeah.
dog, you know, it's, yeah,
I don't think I
I
can get
think
away with
this
that
is-
much, but I think 150
No,
and
no,
80
I'm
bucks.
just saying,
At least, I
you
mean,
know,
at least let's.
people pay that.
And I don't know why they wouldn't allow anyone to increase the fees, I guess I just don't get that.
Well, if we're moving on, is the consensus then 80, raise the cat fee to 80 and the dog to 150?
Correct.
And effective January 1, we gotta put a date on
Does
it.
this have to go through finance or?
I don't know, we'll find out if we pass it first, then we'll check on that.
Yeah.
You want a motion?
Yes, I'll entertain a motion.
I motion then that we increase, adoption fees from $60 to $80 for cats and from $100 to $150 for dogs.
I'll second that.
So the motion's been made and seconded to raise the cat adoption fee to 80 and the dog adoption fee to 150. Is there any more discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, and we'll check to see if that has to be approved by any other thing. Shelter operations.
What do you wanna know? We haven't already discussed.
How many critters?
I can hand you this.
Holy.
There should be enough if you guys wanna, I need one though, cause I'm not gonna remember off the top of my head. All right. I think it's, what is it, 50 some total? All right. So, and actually this is, what, the lowest we've been in a minute, Dick?
In how long? The lowest?
3 months, I don't know, we've
Yeah.
been full we've been,
Wow.
We started getting punished in August.
yes.
Is it down to 24 cats now?
No, we have more than that. This is going by room, so you'd have to add the
Oh, I
three
see.
and the four and the.
Oh,
I thought it had a total, it's like, I think it's like 50 or 60 some total animals, I'm guessing on that. So obviously we have 3 little kittens in the drop off, they were found, actually a county employee found them at the dump or something.
Oh, jeez.
And then playroom 1, these cats, those are the multi-cat rooms, and playroom 2, that's the multi-cat room. Obviously, I wanna say the next page, this is cat quarantine is the storage room. That's where most of our cats are.
That is sad.
And they're aged from, I don't know, 8 weeks, well, it was a little more. 8 weeks to, so many years.
Are they
But-
doubled up in there? Is that-
We had some of them that were, so we have litter mates. We did have like a lot in one, we had to start like taking them out, but, we try to at least have 2 if they're kittens, so they have a buddy. So we have kittens that we have 2, 2, and 2, and then we had 4 in one, and then somebody got adopted, so we were able to split them up. So we have 2 and 2. The adult cats are by themselves at the back there. We have 1 little kitten that's by himself, cause we don't have, he's been having play dates so that he learns how to be a nice little boy, with one of the other kids. So it kinda depends what they come in with, cause if you start mixing and matching and putting, you end up, we've already got, we've had, they come in with worms and fleas, and you gotta kinda be careful. And then they're stressed out, so they end up getting other things, upper respiratory, so,
Are the fleas really bad right now?
usually, we get some that come in, but we usually give them, if they have fly fleas on them, we pop them a little cap star, and then we put the flea and tick on them right away. If they're not 2 pounds, then we gotta give the capsule to kill the fleas, and then we gotta kinda wait a little bit, so they're a little bit plumper to give them that.
Someone was telling me that the fleas are really bad right now.
We've had a few that come in, but not like terrible.
This year has not been bad.
Yeah, not terrible. But also, we've been using flea and tick meds on, everybody gets flea and tick meds.
Well, that's good.
So, and then the other room is, the second room is that where the window is, the stage is there. And then the dogs, we just did get, a dog adopted. We actually got 2 adopted, thank God, cause we did have 5 in this kind of, so we just have Buddy, Keller, Bonnie, and Angus left, and Buddy, I think, is going this weekend, someone's gonna adopt him. And then we have a couple kitties in foster. Kitty Cat is that 7-year-old, all 4-clawed blind kitty. He had to go into foster because he started pulling his hair out. So it was either that or obviously I would have to,
From the stress.
but I found a foster for him.
They think they'll probably keep him.
What about the kitty that went to Forest Lake?
Oh, that's Kitty is living with, they're fostering Dolly now.
That's Dolly.
It's not Dolly, but that cat
Oh.
was adopted, but that's who has Dolly, who has the other kitty.
Okay.
So Dolly came in, pretty much unable to walk, so I took her to the vet, and then I gave her, after I took her to the vet, her front leg was not usable and she wouldn't walk. So I gave her 24 hours, I put her in the kennel, I'm like, okay, Dolly, if you can poop and pee and get in your litter box, and you're eating and drinking, we will find you a place to go,
Yeah.
so you don't have to stay here, cause it's, and I got in the next morning and she used her litter box, and I said, okay, and now she fully walks, her leg though, she has, I don't know if she had a stroke, or I don't know what happened, she had sores and bot flies on her, and, she was laying in a ditch like that, so, but she was very sweet, and she was eating and drinking as soon as she came in, so I didn't,
Hope for her.
yeah, so if she wouldn't have been using her litter box and stuff like that, I would've had to put her down, but she's good.
That's good.
And then, we have 4 cats in the laundry room. I had to have maintenance bring me another transport kennel. So I have 2 transport kennels in the kitchen, well, the laundry room. And Giovanna and her little baby Gio are in one, and then Fiona and Fancy are in the other one.
Okay, what else for operations?
Well, we are, like I said, our numbers are going down. We had another cat, well, we had a cat adoption agreement, I guess, yesterday. He found this cat that we had.
One of the red ones. It seems this month it's been red cats or orange cats.
We have a lot of orange cats. It was a brown cat, it was just kind of.
Okay.
So I guess because I wasn't here last time, last couple months, we had 2 parvo outbreaks. We didn't give it to the dogs came in with it. And the 2 dogs that were dumped off, was that the end of August or beginning of September? I don't remember. It was around the same time, anyways. There had been 2 dogs abandoned and they were not in good shape and they were covered in urine and feces.
At the shelter they were abandoned?
No, they were abandoned, somebody found them. And unfortunately, one of those dogs, and they looked totally fine, they were eating and drinking, yeah, they were pretty dirty and malnourished and stained yellow and brown from living in their own urine and feces. But one of the dogs, one day all of a sudden it had diarrhea and the next day it was gone. And so I think that was over the weekend. I came in on Monday and I had obviously I couldn't do anything. I was like, okay, now we just need to pay attention. Within a week, I wanna say,
Yeah,
not even a week, 2 of our puppies, another puppy that had been impounded and not reclaimed, who also was in very bad shape. He had rope burns around his neck, but anyways, and Keller, they both got parvo from the one dog. So we had those 2 dogs with parvo and the one dog that came in with the other dog that had parvo that died into quarantine. So I did treat them the easiest way that I could, because our shelter's not gonna be able to afford to send 2 puppies to 24-hour emergency care to treat them for parvo. You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So, I talked to the vet and I did what the vet told me to do and crossed my fingers. And, they both came out of it and they're both fine and they've both been neutered and, they're still at the shelter, but they both survived. And then we had another dog that I believe, another month later, I don't even know how long that came in, and she was with us for 12 days. Diarrhea, gone the next day, bam.
Wow.
And that was parvo, because I did test her, and I did try to treat her, but there was nothing I could do about it. And I think she also brought it, because we were like cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and it takes a lot more effort and a lot more time to clean all this, especially when we had a full house. So we were trying to not let anybody else get it. But there was nothing, it just, the two happened so fast, and that is a highly contagious, it's got like a 99% mortality rate. They actually shed 308 million of those little virus particles in their feces when they have diarrhea.
Yeah.
Just, if you didn't know that.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
good picture there.
Yeah, and it will stay in the environment for over a year.
Really?
Yes, if you do not clean it, if
So
you
is
don't,
there a
if
way
you
to-
miss a spot.
To kill it, when you clean, is there a
Bleach,
bleach?
you can kill it if you get it every
No
little
worms.
crack and crevice. I mean, all you need is one little, and all it takes is one little molecule,
Oh,
and a
wow.
little piece of hair of the dog licks it or gets it, and
And then they-
it travels airborne, it travels by fomites, it's very contagious.
Okay, anything else?
Sorry,
about-
that's it.
No, okay,
Terry,
anything else
I'm
about?
rambling again, talking too much.
Anything else about shelter operations?
Other than that, we're fine.
May I ask 2 questions?
Yes, you may.
Do you at all, or would you consider, giving a different fee for cat adoption if they adopt 2, at once? They come in
The
and say,
second one's
"I want-"
normally free,
Okay,
so I do, yeah, and at most shelters will do that.
We do a buy one, get one.
Most
Okay.
shelters,
Always have.
Very good.
most shelters do that.
okay.
Yeah,
Is it posted out there at the shelter or even on the site?
I think so,
I thought I saw it on one of the sites,
I don't
the site one time.
we can't update our Facebook, which, that's on my list to fix. I don't know if I will look, if it's not on our website, I will.
Maybe periodically just put it out online,
Yeah,
because maybe more people would come and get
cause
it.
when
Yeah.
people call us, we do tell them.
Everyone that inquires about a cat or a kitten, they are automatically
Maybe someone will
told,
sign
if
on
you
the
take
door.
2,
Yeah.
we will get the second one, we waive the fee on the second. So,
Okay, and my other question was, do you have much of a source for fostering dogs? I see, there aren't any dogs in foster care.
I think we will do a foster to adopt, a lot of times.
Mhm.
The other problem with dogs too is they're not gonna go in unless extenuating circumstances, if they were, I don't know, had a fractured pelvis or something that was fixable. But they gotta be, I'm not letting any of those dogs leave that shelter without being vaccinated with their second vaccine.
Mhm.
Because there is parvo going around Rusk County. It wasn't just at our shelter, the vet clinic told me, the cremation guy told me, so,
Busy guy. It was just an
We
error
don't have a
everywhere,
foster
not just the
network.
shelter.
It's not, it
Well,
wasn't,
the
we didn't
reason-
bring it in, so.
The reason I'm asking is because if there is an issue of there's too many dogs, rather than having to euthanize them, are there a source for people to take them in
If
until
I-
they could
if-
get adopted?
If
That's all
I
I'm
had to
asking.
euthanize a dog for space or whatever, I would find a foster home for it. I would find a place for it to go. And I do have a couple people, I mean, not a ton, but I do have a couple people that I could call and say, hey, could you foster this dog? Or if it was some kind of extenuating circumstance, so, yes.
Well, I have,
Yeah.
fostered one and I
Yeah.
was gonna adopt it, but it, unfortunately had health conditions and
Yeah.
died before I had it more than,
Yeah.
like a couple months, so.
Yeah.
But if you've got 6
So-
cats, it's kinda hard to, so you
Well,
have the right
absolutely.
kind of dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, nothing more on that, let's move on to budget review. Did you?
Oh, I don't even know if I got,
Okay, if we look at, the budget thing, again, I think we're over budget for the year, which is a concern. You can see about the health and everything going down, contracted services, remember again, that was snow plowing, basically, and it had been budgeted for.
it was in the, I think, there was a couple other things on there too, on contracted services.
Yeah. And then, you don't have.
It's fine.
And then, going down, we're way over, office supplies, a little bit over, way over on shelter equipment, remember that's the air conditioner that we approved last month, that's coming out. Animal supplies were way over.
Did they take out from the gift fund yet for all those that you guys
No.
okayed?
No.
So that's.
We approved, remember, we approved certain items last time, and remember to move stuff from the gift fund to pay for specific special needs and projects, which the gift fund was formed for, that has to be approved by the committee each time. And remember, we approved 2 of them last time. There was the list about $3,700, and the other one was, second here. Oh, and the other one was the live traps, for transport for the critters. for the cats.
What were they again? I got the live traps and what was the other one?
Air conditioner.
There was, well, the air conditioning's not being paid out of the gift fund, no, that's out of the regular fund. The 2 items, there was a list of
Expenses for the.
6 or 7, that was 3,700, that was specifically related to one-time, basically, incidents, but there's a list. And then the other thing was the
Live traps.
the live traps and transport cages.
And where would I find this list?
Well, it was,
In the minutes?
The
They might
list,
have
the
one.
list that I gave them, it's all veterinary care for emergency and specialty care, is
Okay.
what was on that list.
It was attached to last month's.
Okay, we
Yeah.
got it.
yeah,
That's what
Okay.
that, so it was all veterinary care for the animals.
but I do not believe that's
Okay.
been taken out of
No,
here yet.
I looked at it.
And
Oh, no,
animal
no, that
supplies is
makes sense, yeah.
over, and I think you did say that you do put out a call every once in a while, people are bringing in food, so that's why the animal food is not over yet, cause
Probably is
everything's
now.
gone up.
Is a lot of that food though, stuff you request, they're still bringing in stuff that's not.
The last couple times we posted on a wish list Wednesday, we really didn't get much.
Okay.
So I actually had to go, I think last time it was a couple $100s, and the time before that, I think I spent $500 getting food and litter for the animals, cause we didn't get any donations.
So animal supplies is way over again, budget, for the whole year, and this is, remember, this is at the end of September. The auto expense is over for the whole year, but we know that because that was taking care of all those dogs and all the trips to Clark County to have them spayed and outside of that, okay, they haven't transferred anything for maintenance transfer. For revenue in the general fund, our animal shelter receipts are more than what we budgeted for the whole year, so we're to the good for about $113, so that's good. We estimated the amount that the city's share is, so that's put in here. Again, we have not done any transfer from the gift fund, that's probably where those 3,000 and other stuff will go. The dog taxes and everything, that's a thing that's done at the end of the year, it's probably about the same amount. And then you can see at the bottom, that the 41,000 due from the city, that's the 40%, based on current expenditures right now. Moving on to the next one for the building, we've gotten in $6,500 for building fund donation. Remember at the end of last year, the fund balance was $3,800, so you add $6,500 to that, so we've got $10,000 sitting in the building fund, and that probably could be transferred in, or transferred to do the fee for the architect's fee on that. The next, flip that over, this is spay neuter. We've spent $13,500, we budgeted $3,000, but again, there's a lot of that going on. We've gotten in spay neuter donations of $8,700, which is way over what we budgeted, $1,200 for aluminum cans. So the net difference, we've spent about $3,500 more this year so far than what we've gotten in, but our fund balance at the beginning of December of 2022 was $36,430. So if you take roughly 3,000 away from that, so we're still sitting with 33,000 in the spay neuter fund. And that doesn't, well, okay, and then when we go to the last one, which is the gift fund, the only expense really in there is the, that bank fee thing. And for the gift funds, for gifts, we've gotten in about $5,200 this year so far. So say 5,000, and our fund balance at the end of last year was 78,000. So we've got 83,000 in there. Again, we're going to be transferring probably about 4,000 or 5,000 of that into, well, we move it from here and put it into the regular operating fund for the things that we just talked about that was specifically approved for the transport cages and that, and then those special items that were just special medical things. And again, any transfer from here into the regular fund are for specific items, and the committee has to approve that each time. But we are overdrawn for the year, which is a concern, and when we add some of these other things in, for next year, the budget does not include another full-time employee or increasing a half-time to a full-time. That will be taken up later, because they've approved the budgets for next year already. I mean, just about, it's going to go to the county board. I think that's probably in November, and so this will have to be through contingency or other stuff. Again, we're trying to get this along and try and get it moved through, and then that can come out of other funds, but it's not going to be in our budget for that. Are there any questions on budget at this point?
On these dog taxes, that's what you pay for?
Your dog license.
Dog license. Now, what time of year? Yeah.
They transferred in at the
Does
end of
that
the year.
include the city too?
Yeah. Yeah. They
And-
transfer that in at the end of the year. The county does.
And when, and how much are they, and when could we increase them?
I think they just did increase them.
They increased them like last year or 2 years ago.
It went up last year, I know it was 5, and they increased it to
750 or
7.
something.
7,
So,
7 for the spaded?
yeah, and so we were looking at that again, but since it just went up, maybe in another year, try to bump it up again.
What about
to get
for the
more funds.
unspaded? Did that go up?
That went up too.
They both did.
I think
They both went up.
They did, I just don't remember exactly what the answer.
But that was just done last year. So this number that's on here may go up, but I don't know until, because that's what's collected throughout the county when they sell the dog licenses.
That's one people even license that too. I mean, there's quite a few running around that aren't.
Well,
Same with cats.
Well, if I could get the municipalities to help me, I would, 'cause I don't know where these dogs, if I don't have them in my computer, I don't know who they are,
Right,
unless they
exactly.
come in, I don't know who they are.
Understandable.
Okay, any other questions on the financials? Okay,
Okay, one is about that, for your regular budget, like let's say you run out of food and you put it on the wish list that you get food. I caution you to be very careful, because the county has a history of, instead of increasing your budget for food, which is needed, we'll just put the pressure on you to get more donations. And I
Doesn't always
challenge
happen
you
that
to
way.
find another county department that when they go over budget, they ask the public for donations because they're going over budget. It doesn't happen, this is a county department, this is county employees. If people wanna donate, that's great, but if they don't, it's up to the county to make sure there's enough money in that budget to feed those animals or whatever it is. The second thing is, I'm really glad that there's a gift fund, and that you approved the vet things and the cages, because those are special needs. But if you use that gift fund for any of the other 90% of the things in the budget, I and everybody else who's with this animal shelter is gonna go ballistic, because that is lying to the public. You are telling them they are special needs and special projects, and if you use it for phones or mileage, there's nothing special about those. Those are regular county department expenses. And when you take money from the public and you tell them this is for a special thing, and then, we pay off the phone with it, that basically is lying to the public, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. And how do you expect people to give you money if you're lying to them about what it's being used for? Totally unacceptable way to operate. This is not a second-class department. This is equal with every other department, and I know there's a hierarchy. Sheriff's is more important, the highway's more important, blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. And please, don't get into the habit of doing that. It is so wrong and so dishonest that it breaks my heart that you guys would do this at the county level. And it makes me think, what's going on at the federal level? If you can mix and match people's funds, money, and lie to them about what it's being used for.
that is why any transfers from the gift fund have to be approved by this committee, and it has to be a special need or project of the animal shelter.
Thank you,
So it's gotta be approved by here.
thank you.
I did, and just the last meeting, I think it might have been, I did request that finance or whoever is appropriate take a look at adding another category, because right now we're restricted. We can't, if somebody comes in and says, I just want this, I want a donation, go to the general operating budget for food or whatever, we don't have any place to put that. It goes automatically in the gift fund, because that's the only place where we're allowed to put it. We're being forced to either put it in the building fund, in the spay-neuter fund, or in the gift fund. We don't have a general fund. We used to be able to say shelter donation general fund. We can't do that anymore.
What did they tell you when you looked into it, when you asked about it, anything?
Well, I mean, I brought it up in this meeting.
I think last time we asked about another category, didn't we?
Yeah.
Get one. I don't know.
Need one then.
Yeah, cause I only have so many selections, I can only put it in so many spots.
When people said, well, people don't donate to the shelter general fund, and actually they do. When they come in off the street, a lot of times they'll say, just put it towards the shelter operation, or you use it to buy food, or whatever. And so, it would be nice.
The gift fund, I can't take money out to get food, you know.
You need like a food fund.
Well, we have one, but it's not,
it's part of the budget.
It's part of the
Right,
budget.
for your donation,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I can't direct money there.
Okay, we'll check into that again. Okay, anything else? Okay,
May I ask, in this, contracted services, you said it was snow plowing? Why?
most of it,
Which one is it? What one are you looking at?
Up here,
it's
about a third of the way down.
What
right
number?
here,
Number
218,
218?
260.
216?
Now, why do we have to pay extra for snow plowing down here, part of the county?
The reason it's not budgeted for, it was unclear whether, because that's from Russ Thompson plowing.
Yeah.
And some of that was unclear, was the county paying, are county employees going out there to plow? Or was that hired out because certain buildings are plowed by Russ Thompson or other
For the county too?
outside vendors, yes, for the
Okay.
county too. And at the time, we didn't know, and I don't know, I think it's been Russ Thompson that plowed you guys.
Yes.
And so that's a cost for us. And I mean, if the county plowed it, the maintenance workers, they would probably keep track and it'd come in under another line down here under a contracted, transfer of maintenance services or, another expense item like that. That's why there's no budget in there because, and I think that nobody seemed to know, is this, are the county employees gonna plow it, or is this gonna be hired out? And basically, last year it was all that way, and I think it
Well,
still
we had a-
is. Yeah,
I wasn't here the
That's
year
fine.
before, so
So
I
in the
don't know.
future, do we need to budget for that?
I don't remember what we put it,
I don't think we put anything in
It's zero
no, that's for this year, he's talking about next year.
next year.
But the other thing that's in that contracted services is that window as well.
I think last winter, the county plowed us out last winter because we got plowed out by a big payloader.
Was that in like the
Usually
year
when
before
Russ-
I got there, right?
Yeah, but the year before that, Russ Thompson, cause then he had sent his truck out and that stuff, but last year, I think the county plowed us out with a big payloader, I remember that. So, I don't know.
2022 you're talking about, or 21?
21 is,
Okay, last year,
last year Thompson did it, didn't he?
last year, the county did it.
Oh, really?
We had a big payloader come out. I'm assuming it
No,
was.
Russ Thompson did
Russ
all of
That
this.
was
snow
Russ
last-
Thompson, a
yes.
big payloader?
That was
Oh, I thought that was
2022.
county.
Yeah, so it must have
Okay,
been
so then it's
21.
always been Russ Thompson.
Okay. So did you include anything in the budget for that or no?
I don't have next year's budget with me,
Oh, okay.
so, can't answer that.
Can you change it if you didn't? Or is it too late?
No, it's too late.
Too late?
All budgets have been more or less finalized, and like I say, that's why trying to get half-time work to full-time will take
That,
longer work to do, that will have to be amended later.
That's
But the
not
budget-
true. It can be changed up to the time the county board passes it. I've seen it happen dozens of times. It's not, they don't like it because it makes them take longer. As at the county board meeting, they like to go, oh, everybody approved this, zip, 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 zip. But I've seen it over and over again where people have brought up things right at the last minute. It's nothing illegal about it, nothing against county policy that I know, now I know that I'm 12 years late on some of the policies, but,
But if it's something, an emergency that comes up that hasn't been planned before, it makes sense.
right, and I think, is forestry paying for that huge parking lot out there that gets plowed? Are all the county departments splitting up? This is the fair committee paying for the whole fairgrounds getting plowed?
Why are we stuck paying
It's,
for ours?
yeah, the animal shelter is a legitimate department and should be treated like everybody else and not like with just the leftovers. But you can change the budget right up to the time you guys pass it. Unless that rule has been changed in 12 years.
No, but we just approved the job description now. It has not been to finance, it hasn't been to the joint, it hasn't been to all these other things, so it is not in the budget.
No, I was talking about plowing.
yeah,
No,
also
plowing.
fine, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were referring to other stuff.
So, yeah, is it,
It's basically
So if we brought it up at the county board meeting?
Well,
we could-
I don't know what the budget is without looking at it, I
Oh.
didn't bring that with me
Okay, all right.
today.
Yeah, check into it then.
Okay, and I can check into it. Okay, let's move on and review the bills. Do you wanna take a look at them to approve the bills?
What was the window?
It got hit with a rock when they were, mowing. There's a lot of
Yeah,
rocks in our
that
driveway and a
happens.
lot of rocks right in
Yeah.
where that cat window is, so.
They decided to cut the grass on the gravel and spit a rock into the window. The big old double pane, the one in the cat room's
Who did
huge.
that? I mean,
County.
the county.
That's part of the paper then.
Well, that's what I was wondering, yeah.
The bill ended up in my box, so
Well, you put return to sender.
I tried, it ended up in my box again.
Jeez.
So I, so I just put it.
Then you have to do it again. We don't know what mail we get from some guy across town.
Well. So this is for, okay, so this is for some of September and some of August, but just FYI. There is gonna, I had to order some supplies for the, parvo dogs and stuff like that. Not a ton, but and I did that because it was cheaper for me to order them directly than me to keep going to the vet and getting in, I didn't have to get much, but I had to get parvo tests and stuff like that, so that I'd make sure they did still have it. So I wasn't spreading germs everywhere. Those aren't.
That'll come up next one.
So there's not a whole lot, tell us, how did your training in Madison go?
Well, it went good, I passed my exam.
That's good.
Thank God. I got really sick while I was there, and I also got about 1 trillion phone calls because there was horses at large, and stolen dogs, and
Oh, the 5 dogs over on Fifth
Yeah.
Avenue?
no, there's only 4 dogs there,
Okay.
but all kinds of stuff that I had to deal with, but it was fine. I just kept telling them that I'm not there, I can't help you. So.
Thank you for calling me, Rusk.
They're busy too, sometimes the officers forget, I did give them a little poster, but sometimes they forget, I get it. And I'm just like, hey, I can't do anything about it, so.
Yeah.
Then I was trying to help the police officer figure out maybe what had happened to the stolen dogs, a little bit, but I got through it, I passed my test, we're all good.
Anything ever figure out if those dogs get stolen?
Okay,
No idea.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the bills.
I'd make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, seen that, motion has been made and seconded to approve the bills, any further discussion?
Are we able to get a copy of these bills in our email packet?
It was sent. I printed it off of my email,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't get
I didn't do it mine.
one with mine.
It comes separate.
I think it comes before you
Okay.
actually.
It doesn't
I never got
come
it.
with the, it doesn't
It
come
doesn't
with
come
the.
with the packet.
No, it doesn't
No.
come with the minutes and it comes from, Brittany.
So now I've got it for a long time.
Oh,
So, yeah, you need to look for the email from Brittany and she sends it.
For a long, long
Okay.
time.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the bills, no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries, the bills are approved. Okay, our next meeting is November 16th at 8:30, that's a Thursday, our normal meeting date. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
For any
Opposed,
reason,
same.
I don't show up.
Okay, we're adjourned at 10:41.
Sophie was in the
And
nursery.
thank you all for coming.
She has kidney times.
Now that it's
We are
over,
now adjourned.
hey, now that it's over, Tony Hauser has been against the animal shelter for a million years. However, if he is very frustrated over this, and he heard Dawn's whole explanation, she is overwhelmed. He could turn into an ally for getting more, so if you guys you know, if we play it right, he could be a friend.
He listened, but didn't hear.
So-
He's probably the one that at one time said, said when they were complaining about the cost of the animal shelter, one of the members of the county board said a box of 22 shells would be a lot cheaper.
Yes, yes,
So-
but the people in his voter base is affected, and he listens to his voter base, so this could work out good with Tony.
And
Hopefully.
It's, what he wants to do is try and put in absolutes. And you can't take away, just like you can't take away